Morning, guys. I wanted to do a quick discussion. I've got my little pen here about straight line wind damage, and I haven't really thought this out at all. So we're just gonna have fun for about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm gonna flip you guys around. I'm gonna flip you guys. There we go. Here's the whiteboard. Okay, there's my hand. So whiteboard. See, it's a big whiteboard in my office here. And so the National Weather Service came through and said that a lot of the damage to, the homes and the trees and everything that got blown down was all straight line wind damage. And a lot of folks have said, no. It had to be a tornado because this tree fell this way, right? And then there was another tree over here that fell that way. And so obviously the tornado went right through here, right? And so it wrapped this tree this direction, and then it wrapped that tree maybe that direction or something like that. So the trees fell in different directions, so it must have been a tornado, right? Not necessarily. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. Where'd my eraser go? There's my eraser. I'll tell you guys a quick story about the days leading up to when I left Hattiesburg, and that was a tree that fell on my house. So, okay, so I'm going to, again, draw my line here, and we'll say this is my house, and the tree was right here. That'll be the tree. We had wind that came through this direction, and this tree fell that way on my house. And you might be asking yourself, well, how the heck did that happen, Nick? If the wind is blowing this way, the tree should have fallen that way. Yes, it should have, but that's not always how life works, unfortunately, and that's not always how the physics of trees falling works. I'm actually going to leave this over here. So what can happen is, I'm going to draw my tree again here, is as the wind blows, it's not always a constant pressure, right? So the wind can blow for a while at 40, and then you can get a stronger gust at 70 miles an hour, and then sometimes you can get another gust at 80 miles an hour, but it'll fluctuate between these. And so the pressure that the tree feels is going to be different at different times. And so the tree starts to heave, right? So it leans this way, and then it leans that way, and it kind of blows back and forth. And we've all seen this with thunderstorms, right? The tree sits there and it blows and it goes back and forth and back and forth. The root system underneath the ground here can only hold on for so long with a given amount of water in the soil. And so it heaves back and forth, back and forth. And what can happen is you can get one of these really strong wind gusts that pushes the tree pretty far this way, and it lifts these roots up out of the ground, loosens the ground here, and as it recoils back, it can then loosen the ground over here, and the tree can actually fall that direction. And so that's part of the reason why sometimes you see straight line wind damage, and you say, well, wait a second, this tree was facing this way, and that other tree was going this way, and I look down at the ground, and there's a tree, and there's a tree, and there's a tree, and this had to be a tornado, and it just wasn't. And the folks at the National Weather Service, I think, do a great job at trying to figure out exactly what happened, especially at Jackson. The Jackson National Weather Service, you guys. And I know a lot of folks say, no, Nick, it had to be a tornado. It had to. They're going to find a tornado. They see so many tornadoes. I promise they'll know. They're all trained to do this, and I got to say that if they say no tornado, I tend to really trust them. It's okay to trust them, right? And by the way, straight line wind damage. So again, I'll just draw a little house here. Here we go. There's your house again. We had winds at estimated up to 90 miles an hour. That is so much pressure on a structure, on a tree. Some folks have said, oh, the trees were twisted. Okay, so let's say here's your other tree, and let's put another tree right here, and let's say the wind is blowing across the house, and you got two trees right here. We live in three-dimensional space, so we'll say that tree is a little bit farther back than this tree up here. So if the wind is blowing this way, the wind in 3 dimensions also isn't the same. The wind closer to the thing here may be at 60 miles an hour, and maybe behind this, maybe back over here, we'll put this, maybe it's at 100 miles an hour. And so you get these trees, and they'll feel different pressure at different places. And so because these trees are lined up the way they are, in fact, let's do this. Let's say that this tree covers half of that tree. Well, then the wind that this tree feels here is going to be the full brunt of the wind, and then this tree back here is only going to feel the strongest wind on this side of the tree. So you can actually rotate the tree because the pressure on one side, just like a screw, right? The pressure on this side is different than the pressure on this side of the tree. And so that's how you can get trees that twist as they fall, because they're feeling more pressure on one side than the other. They're still getting pushed, and then they snap and fall over. And so maybe the tree snaps this high off the ground here, and the rest of the tree falls over, and then the trunk is twisted. Well, that's because it's twisted because it's getting pressure on this side, but not on this side. And then it snapped off as it fell, and so yeah, it looks like it's all. So there's my 2 cents. Sorry about that. On why sometimes straight line wind damage can be a straight line wind damage, and it isn't necessarily always tornado damage, even though you can have trees that are twisted and sometimes trees in different directions. So I gotta get back to work though. So that's just a quick chat. Hopefully this helps kind of explain things, given the National Weather Service finding the straight line wind damage of 90 miles an hour. By the way, that's really strong wind. I mean, that's probably the strongest wind that most of the trees in the area have felt since Katrina. So I'm not surprised that a lot of these trees couldn't take it and are all fallen over, and there's a lot of damage, and folks have been without power for a long time. This is probably, for some of the trees in the area, the strongest wind they've had since Katrina. That's a long time. It's about 20 years. So I know a lot of folks want it to be a tornado. I've never really understood why. I mean, it's kind of fun to say, like, oh man, I was in a tornado, I guess. But damage is damage, man. And hopefully you folks have insurance that can cover it. Make sure that if you do have damage, that you do let your local emergency management official know. Make sure you let your insurance know about it, and make sure that you somehow let the folks at the National Weather Service know about it too, so they can come out and check out some of that damage as well. So I got to jump back and do my morning duties here. But I'll have a forecast out on the app and the blog here coming up shortly, and well, I'll see you guys around.